nice weather? I embrace the symbolism of the tree. It is life and what eventually will be. When nurtured, it will forever grow, but left unintended, it withers with woe. In its bend, it will not break. The depths of its roots dictates its remain. Choked by weeds of thought, gives way to seeds of doubt. It struggles, shakes, it believes. Finally, it unfurls its leaves and rises in her devoted love. This is a poem written by Anna Marie, and she also wrote these comments. In the silver maple, the community of Ridenbaugh is represented. Within the shade of its leaves, our comfort we give to one another. Its canopy of protection against the forces of nature is in the activism for those who are unable to speak or are afraid to oppose. Its bough is the strength of the few for the many, and the depths of the roots of the silver maple represent the strong emotional ties to our homes at Ridenbaugh. For some, it spans 2 decades. For others, less than a decade. Yet the emotional ties are still strong in their desire to be a part of this community. Their awe at the existence of the care exhibited by random strangers who reside at Ridenbaugh fills them with aspirations to advocate for our homes. It is the sign of the times, captured in headlines and social media, to put out of existence, to destroy, to demolish, and replace the old with the new, labeled as progress. However, equivalent worth is not being replaced. Material values instead of human values. It is not progress when one places their own needs above others, and the means utilized to serve those selfish needs is beyond reproach. The means to remove the silver maple, to make room for the new luxury student housing, will be just as brutal. It will be cut, hacked, and chopped into little pieces, and finally a stump removed to obliviate its existence. And how can 76 caliber inches of tree mitigation replace the silver maple tree, which has existed for 5 decades? Anna Marie Starkletter. Thank you.
My name is Lori DeCare, and I'm representing Intermountain Fair Housing Council. Boise tops the fastest growing cities list several years going, with construction cranes crowding our skyline in a forest of new apartments. Boise grows ever bigger to meet the voracious appetite of newcomers lured by access to outdoor pursuits and a relatively friendly and accessible city. All of Boise's growth appears to be coming at the expense of 2 of Boise's most precious resources, its environment and its people. Arbor Day is typically a day for planting trees and looking to the future with renewed hope. But in Boise, this year's Arbor Day, 38 residents of Boise Avenue's Ridenbaugh Place mourn the impending destruction of 25 mature trees as well as their own affordable homes. Research consistently shows that a city's tree canopy has significant environmental benefits. It helps cool residents during warmer summers, minimizes air pollution, offers habitat for wildlife, contributes to emotional well-being, and absorbs stormwater runoff as more and more ground gets paved. In other words, it increases our quality of life immensely. The last few years of intense development has already affected the city's leafy green umbrella as the percentage of tree canopy coverage dropped from 16 to 14%. As the population has increased and development has skyrocketed, we've shed at least 2% of our protective green veil, and what's left is under threat from disease and more development. In addition to the significant environmental impact, there are also 38 people who are being displaced from their homes and their beloved community. Despite strong opposition from 2 neighborhood associations, hundreds of neighbors, affordable housing advocates, and all 38 impacted residents, and after a nearly 2-year process, St. Louis-based developer CDG prevailed at City Hall in their aim to tear down this community of naturally occurring affordable housing and replace it with a massive luxury apartment complex designed for students. This unique bungalow apartment building where everyone's front door faces each other means that tenants share a lush park-like setting, which facilitates an uncommon camaraderie among neighbors, with residents offering rides, sharing baked goods, as well as having regular community get-togethers like potlucks and summer barbecues. The loss of this tight-knit courtyard community is a tragedy for more than just the displaced residents. The kind of explosive growth it is now experiencing contributes to unsustainable increases in property values and cost of living, a growing gap between wages and rents, leading to gentrification and a pattern of mass displacement of long-term residents of lower socioeconomic levels. To make matters worse, we are observing a troubling trend where developers, particularly large out-of-state equity investors, target existing affordable housing stock to flip for higher rents, more well-heeled tenants, or as we see with the Ridenbaugh Place apartments, for redevelopment. The displacement comes during a housing affordability crisis. Our 12% rent increase over the pandemic year means Boise topped the national list for the largest rent increase, with rents increasing over 24% during the past 3 years. At Intermountain Fair Housing Council, we are overwhelmed with calls from desperate renters who are losing their homes or unable to find a place to live, sleeping on friends' couches or living in their car, a camp trailer, or a hotel. We are undoubtedly at crisis levels. With such an obvious pattern of displacement, cities have a responsibility to counter development pressures and adopt anti-displacement policies. We lost a big opportunity with the city's new housing bonus ordinance, which simply gives bonuses to developers who reserve a handful of units that are deemed quote-unquote affordable for people making $75,000 a year. That won't help, and just gives more power to developers and less to Boise residents. We can't simply build our way out of a housing crisis. The city must adopt a New Deal-like approach to housing affordability. The 3 Ps: produce affordable housing, protect tenants by passing a tenant's bill of rights, as the mayor promised during her campaign, and preserve naturally existing affordable housing, like the Ridenbaugh apartments to come. Preservation is typically about 1/2 to 2/3 the cost of new construction and enables people to stay in their homes. This preserves the neighborhood, relationship, the environment, our communities, in addition to the housing, all stated priorities of Boise's comprehensive plan. In the long run, how we treat our trees reflects how we treat our residents. The trend in real estate development is to see both our oldest trees and our longest term residents as disposable and exchangeable. This attitude won't grow a better city. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Sue Chu and I live right down the street here. And I gotta tell you, during this year when the legislature has been so interesting, it's been vitally important for me just to come here. You guys have invited me to just come and chill, and just being by this tree is so important for me, just like in that very first poem that we read here. You know, I want to just say that it has been so difficult to be able to work for something imaginative that would really, really be an additive for this community. What we had talked about originally was that this corner was one to be preserved in terms of our community gathering place. And when the Maverick Station was here, we'd all see each other here. So what we had wanted was a multi-story building here with that first area there open with a welcoming area, showing about all the innovation that this community looks forward to in terms of solar, in terms of wind, in terms of just being able to create places for us to live and be in that made a lot of sense and was really very smart. And over here where we're standing, to be able to preserve this beautiful tree and water and passageway for our deer and other wildlife that make it from here down in the river up to the bench that so many people had really appreciated. I mean, why couldn't we have something like that, and why can't we? You know, I want to say that because this is private property, I wonder if we can start thinking and maybe have these guys reconsider. Because the national trend has showed that the folks that need housing associated with the university, so Boise State's just 3 blocks from here, that their need has actually been going down. So if that's the case, why do we have to build a big luxury complex for students that pay way more money than any of us can afford to do, especially with House Bill 377 that will discourage most people that would like to come to a place that has the diversity that Idaho's always represented, to come here instead, because you know, things like that show that there are people here that aren't about that. And if that is going to be the trend, why don't we wait for a little bit and see if there really is a need for a big luxury apartment complex to house 500 students that may not be coming to a state like ours. Why don't we make a pause, take a deep breath, be able to feel in the roots of what we know to be right and true, you know, like the roots underneath this tree that I'm standing next to give us that wisdom to say, no, this community and the community members here want something different than some big cement building that might stay vacant because of legislation that people have brought here to discourage others from coming to a community like this. These are the kind of changes that we don't want. It's time for us to take a pause and get back what it is that we know is so valuable here. And so I'm here because I love trees and I love all that this apartment has meant to me through these years.
Thank you, Sue, for those good words. John Bertram, I live a ways down up on the bench here. I've always loved Arbor Day. I've had many Arbor Day parties at my old office down on River Street and up at my home. I planted so many trees that now I don't have room and I have to cut branches now. So I'm really hurt this year with Arbor Day because of the loss of Ridenbaugh Place, primarily because of the loss of affordable housing, but because of what we have here is a paradise. I don't think many people know what this is. I'm not even sure that city council members ever even came here to look at the site, which would have been so important to understand the canal that waters this area, the scope and the size of these trees. Yesterday, Pam and I put a tape measure around this tree here. I think it's 12.5 feet round. And I believe it was planted by the Brassies 60 years ago. We still own the property, though Mr. Brassies passed away. It's unfortunate they don't see more in the history of their own site. I tried every time I could to convince the council to look at another vision, something I learned about Brussels. God Suisse, a similar, is actually 24 units is the model size built around a courtyard. This is really a very unique setting, and as mentioned by Lori, you all face a courtyard and those cars are all in the back. Go out and look at new subdivisions and new housing. The cars are all out the front door. There is no green space like this. So this is really a special place. I would like to think like Sue that they might rethink this. I'm not going to give up. I posted another Facebook post today. You get a lot of likes, you get a lot of shares. You hope it counts. But I guess I just wanted to read a list of the trees that are here, and there's more than 25. City Forestry, and actually I want to read so we mentioned the two neighborhood groups, Southeast Neighborhood Association, Depot Bench, both spoke eloquently against this. Many people spoke individually, many letters were sent. It's interesting, our bench neighbors up here, who I know, they're not here today. We helped them scale this thing down. I wish they were still here today to protect what we have here, because I could go on and on. What most important is we have a little neighborhood activity center here that needs a chance to be thought through and rethink the Maverick store. I had a lot of fun in my last letter to City Council, writing a dream that I had in 2027, where this had all been saved, it had all been revitalized, and now BSU, this was the activity area for BSU before activities happening. Even BSU participated. Maybe that can still happen, but I think if this project happens, it's going to just spoil all of the opportunity for this. So here's what the City Forestry Department said. This was in their own review. The site's existing tree density, maturity, and accompanying understory provide a public benefit and habitat for urban wildlife. Removal of all of these trees will be a loss to the greater urban forestry canopy. And I can't underestimate the wildlife that comes through here. This whole bench corridor that goes through the city, the first bench, the second bench, it's a wildlife corridor. I don't know if you've been seeing them, but I've had a number of deer in my yard, and I'm almost over on Capitol here, and all sorts of birds, other small animals. And that's the beauty of this facility as the center of all that. So, you know, what we're losing, and it's more than 25, city forestry considers some of these trees junk trees. I have a real problem that CLG basically is going to pay for the planting of some trees at other parks within a mile or so. And I complained in my second letter about that, and they, you know, they're smart. They came back and said, oh, we're going to plant them within a mile. This is the oxygen. I don't want, we want that oxygen someplace, but I want this oxygen right here, because I've got to compete with Boise Avenue and Capitol and Federal Way. I've got a lot of vehicle increases with Boise's growth. We need that oxygen right here in the city center, and that's a big part of what these trees provide. What are we going to lose? We're going to lose, besides this Norway maple, sweet gum, white ash, white oak, plum, black locust, box elder, fir, cherry, and elm. I mean, that's a terrific list. And let's not give up. Let's keep trying. I'm not sure our avenues. I'm just really disappointed in the vote last week or 2 weeks ago. 2 councilmen seemed to have some reservations, but then they voted yes for it. I was disappointed by that. I wish they had just voted no, like their conscience told them to do. So let's keep working on this. This is a very special place. I wish the press was here, but I want to thank the other people that have been so involved. And we do have our 2 representatives from the State House. I can see why they're not up there today. Sorry. Anyway, so let's keep working. Let's keep trying. I also want to thank Pam. Pam has been really, she's there. She's always there. And I've really gotten to know her a little bit, and I appreciate her. And I appreciate the Fair Housing Group and all you're doing. So let's just keep moving and save these trees and protect our wildlife and protect affordable housing. This is the #1 issue in the city, and it's getting no response. Thank you. Beautiful.